Hello and welcome to the Bold Outdoors YouTube channel. It has been a minute. More like hours, more like weeks, more like months since I have uploaded a video. But here we are at Pratt Creek on a brisk Saturday morning. Just left the trailhead back there. And there are a multitude of reasons for not really uploading. None of which have to do with not really riding, because we've been riding. But number one is these cameras. I am not a fan of GoPros. You get together what you think is some really good footage, and you get home and you load it onto your computer and the audio sucks, or the video sucks, or the cameras weren't working. I am not a fan of GoPro. So today we got the drift camera back on the helmet here. It's kind of the OG. That's what began this channel, way back with the Ducati. So that's what we got today. We got the drift camera, and then we got the two GoPros here. And doesn't really matter with either of those cameras that sometimes you get audio, sometimes you don't, sometimes you get video, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they'll begin recording and just stop for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm not a fan. Out there on the hood is the GoPro Hero 8. The back screen no longer works. Back screen is also cracked. The front screen, the front lens is cracked. And on the Hero 8, the lens isn't replaceable, so yeah, don't like GoPros. There was one moment in time that I tried giving the Yi 4K I gave it a try, and the first one broke like instantly. If I remember right, it would not, I think it was just a blank screen. It wouldn't do anything. Turned it in, they sent a new one out, and I honestly don't remember what happened to that one. It basically failed in short order, so I don't know if there's any videos that actually contain 4K, the Yi 4K audio or video or anything like that. Not entirely sure. Number two is that we had the huge Cameron Peak fire last year, which means currently, and I'm not sure this is an exaggeration, but we easily have 90% of our trails are still closed from that fire. So, you know, we can only do so much. And it basically came down to, I did not want to upload, you know, video after video after video, like here at Pratt Creek or at Bunt School Road or anything like that. Like, it just would have been repetitive bad. So it was kind of like a dual-edged sword, so to speak, in that these cameras have been effing up left and right anyway. Plus I'm visiting the same trails over and over. Yeah. Which is kind of a bummer because, you know, we've got like 6,500 miles on this machine now. And I've always liked to do kind of like a mileage long-term review. There's a lot of interest in that. And that's something I wanted to somewhat address as well, is that pretty much each time I've uploaded a video saying, oh hey, you know, here's 5,000 miles, hey, here's 3,000 miles, and I talk about the things that I have done, and invariably there's comments on the video saying, well, I'm not sure I can own a side-by-side if I have to do all that work. And it really just comes down to how you ride, because there's easily guys out there with 10,000 miles on their Razor, and all they've done is a belt or a set of brake pads and nothing more. You know, like, except for oil changes, of course, but I'm talking about like hard parts, you know, like they're not really breaking anything. They just take care of their equipment. And then you have guys that are blowing through ball joints and brake pads and axles every single weekend. It just comes down to how you are as a person. It really is. So if you're thinking about getting into the side-by-side kind of market, I wouldn't let, you know, those hardcore guys discourage you. Because like for myself, when something's worn out or something, then I take that opportunity to upgrade it. Or I go in knowing, like, you know, I like experimenting, I like new stuff, I like to try things. So, you know, the ball joints are worn out, let me try these. They didn't work, okay, let me try these. And that's just what I like to do. So like with this particular machine with 6,500 miles, the main thing that's weird, got some meat protesters. Look at his ear. Her ear. Alright, so with 6,500 miles, the main thing that has gone out has probably been the intercooler, which happened at close to the top of Rollins Pass. That was a bummer deal. And there's a few instances that you'll see, like on razorforums.net, of intercoolers failing. I don't believe it's as bad of an epidemic as they make it out to be. And I don't believe that the aftermarket solutions are necessarily a solution. It's actually been proven they don't cool as well as the OEM unit. But there's an upgraded gasket that you can get with the intercooler that helps cushion it better inside the housing. And that's probably what it comes down to, is vibration is what cracks it. And at that point in time, I think I had 5,400 miles on it when it let go. And then a lot of that's with level 2 and level 3 Aftermarket Assassins tunes. So I'm not mad one bit that I didn't let go. And when you're snow bashing, you can push a lot of boost. Snow bashing easily puts the most amount of stress on the motor of any conditions that I can think of. I would think sand, I wouldn't even say it's a close second. It's probably a distant second in terms of stress on the motor. I went through a couple wheel bearings there on the right rear, which was odd. So eventually I replaced the entire carry and the bearing. At the moment of this recording, I don't remember exactly how many miles were on this machine when I did that. Might have been around 4,000, so we have probably 2,500 miles on that bearing now. No issues. The other 3 are still original, so 6,500 miles on the other 3 bearings. So off the top of my head, I think that's the only thing I can really think of in terms of, say, something from the factory kind of letting you down, would be the intercooler and that wheel bearing. everything else, in my opinion, is wear parts. So in terms of that, it's kind of up to you how you want to go about that, either replacing it straight OEM or upgrading. I'm specifically referring to, say, ball joints and U-joints. Those are rare items. They're not expected to last forever. I personally don't believe there's anything wrong with the factory OEM tie rods. However, at nearly 6,000 miles, I went ahead and upgraded to the SuperATV heavy duty tie rods. And when I removed those, they were perfectly tight, no sloppiness whatsoever in any of the joints of those factory tie rods. And I've beat the snot out of those things. And in my opinion, they act sort of like a fuse, in that if you do hit a rock or a stump or an immovable object, it's better for that to bend and or break than to take out your steering rack. That's my opinion. I share that opinion also with the axles. And I've broken my fair share of axles. Definitely with cost of ownership, it's definitely good if you're able to wrench on your own vehicles. I couldn't imagine the cost to actually take it in and have an independent shop or the dealership do a lot of the maintenance and parts swapping. That would get expensive fast. But definitely here in Colorado, the average mileage is pretty low. There aren't too many people that ride as many miles as I do. Now once you start working out west, you know, those guys in Nevada can rack up the miles quick. To bring it back around to experimenting with parts and things like that, I've been playing around with the clutching. Now for over 6,000 miles, I've had the Aftermarket Assassins clutch kit, and it's worked extremely well. I have not burned up any belts, and I'll get to the one belt I did burn up. Totally my fault though. So the belt grab has always been really nice. The RPM, the back shifting, and all those things have been really, really nice. I have never liked the clutch engagement though. It's always been very high. I'd say on average around 2,100 RPMs. And I've never liked that, especially for slow speed activities. Now you get yourself into a sketchy situation, you like to be able to feather the throttle and, you know, get yourself out of that sketchy situation. But the Aftermarket Assassins clutch kit is always like bang. It's like you're ramping up the RPMs, ramping them up, and bang, like it engages, like whoa, shit. So it was really hard to get like a smooth engagement. So what I eventually did, left everything as it was. So for the most part, I ran 420 on the clutch weights, and I put back the OEM 2018 primary spring. That smoothed out the engagement. It also lowered it a little bit. It's around 1900. So you had a smoother engagement and a lower engagement. That's where we usually haul ass. Got a side-by-side down there. Huh. We'll wait till the county road in Wyoming. So long story short, I've been playing with the clutching. I reinstalled the 2018 OEM spring, lowered the engagement, made it smoother. It did, however, lower the upper RPM. So instead of seeing 83, 8400 RPMs on shift out, I was maybe seeing 81, 8200. Now for most Colorado trails, you're not really, going 55 miles per hour wide open throttle. Like there, I wanted to open it up, but I felt like being a nice guy. Like there, you can open it up. You can open up certain places in Wyoming here. And I'm talking about Pratt Creek. The absolute best place to open it up and really let your engine sing is Fox Park in Wyoming. You can hit over 90 miles per hour in a lot of stretches there. So with that spring, it lowered the RPMs, but I was okay with that. And then I started thinking about the secondary spring. So the secondary spring the Aftermarket Assassins give you is purple. They do not advertise what the spring rate is, but it's somewhat well known. So I was like, you know what? Let me try a really stiff spring. So I got the EPI teal secondary spring, and yeah, that is a stiff spring. So you have maximum belt grip. So that's definitely one of those situations where, like, if I were to do Sand Hollow, like go back to Sand Hollow, or even Moab, you could do like clutching specific for those areas. So like the EPI secondary spring, just super stiff and maximum belt grip. Load up the Aftermarket Assassins clutch weights like 444 with an OEM spring, and like you have belt grip for days. Super low engagement RPM and super high belt engagement. So I think a lot of us are looking for that all around good for everything clutch setting, which isn't a bad thing. But for specialized activities, Sand Hollow, Moab, King of the Hammers, load up those weights to get maximum grip. So further experimenting, I started looking around at the RS1, which uses the exact same clutches as the XP Turbo, and I noticed its spring had a lower preload and a higher shift out spring rate. So for example, the 2018 OEM spring is 63,140, which means it starts out at 63 for the engagement and it finishes at 140. I don't have it right in front of me, but the RS1 spring is 57 and finishes at 223. So that means, all things being equal, between the OEM spring and the RS1 spring, you should have a lower engagement and more upper RPMs, because the spring is counteracting the weights. Right now we are driving with the RS1 spring, and this is my first outing with it. We do in fact have a lower engagement RPM. It's about 1750 when it initially engages. I'm not exactly sure what the shift out RPM is. With that being said, I also reinstalled the OEM clutch weights. So right now we're cruising with an RS1 primary spring, Aftermarket Assassins purple secondary spring, and the 2018 XP Turbo clutch weights. They're rated at 70 grams. A 420 on the Aftermarket Assassins weights roughly measures 66 grams. So we're basically looking at 8,000 on our shift out. So you see, initially engages at 1750. I'm not sure if that camera's picking that up, but $17.50. So RS1 primary spring, 2018 XP Turbo primary weights, and Aftermarket Assassins purple secondary spring. It pulls good though. I mean, the absolute main thing when owning a side-by-side is maintenance. You get past that initial price, it's not that big of a deal to take care of a side-by-side. Just stay on top of the oil changes. I say go by the hours for engine oil, go by miles for the transmission. Change the front diff probably more than necessary. Polaris kind of stretches it out more than I am comfortable with, and I essentially do every oil change or every other engine oil change on the front diff, as the front diff doesn't hold very much oil, so it's not that big of a deal. It's easy to get to. Just do it. So stay on top of the fluids. If you ride in normal conditions, do the air filter once a year. If you're in extremely dusty conditions, maybe twice a year. And if you ride normal, your ball joints, U-joints, brake pads, wheel bearings, all those things will last a very long time. It won't even be a discussion for quite a few miles. If you go into the purchase of a side-by-side going to be a weekend warrior, yeah, you're going to be replacing parts. And I'll throw in on the initial cost of the side-by-side is to go ahead and grab an extra belt just in case. It's one of those things that can catch you off guard at a moment's notice, and it's better to have a belt and be able to change it on the trail than to have to walk back to your truck or whatever. Okay. So I never intend, when I do like the mileage videos and the mileage reviews, to scare anybody away. That's never my intent. Because overall, I like to change things, and so when things wear out, or I see an opportunity to just, upgrade or whatever, I do it. It's not because I have to, it's because I want to. With that being said, if these cameras all work and the audio works, you'll see this video. If not, I'll have to try again at another day. Lots of hunters. With that being said, I am Josh. This is the Bold Outdoors YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, this is a 2018 Polaris RZR XP Turbo. 6,500 miles on this bad boy. If you like what I do, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And I'll catch all of you next time. Peace.